Jeff Wittek has been going through it on Jeff FM, and he's opened up about some struggles he's had behind the scenes that have made it really hard for him to continue with his show. As Jeff was approaching his 100th episode, he sat down to record one of his favorite interviews to date with Bruce Buffer. He said he was so excited for this episode. They had such a great talk with him. He told stories about him and his brother. They had people that called in. Jeff was so excited for people to see this, but when they went back to go look at the file afterwards, it ended up being corrupted and Jeff was devastated.
We had a major setback. Remember that episode I was all excited for?
Bruce Buffer.
Yes, Bruce Buffer,
So
the
what
voice of
happened
the
when-
UFC. He was an episode that I was very excited for. It was my favorite episode we've ever filmed, and I know I sound like a baby. I'm just, I'm making this up. It was literally the best flow we've ever had of an episode. The boys checked the footage. All the files were corrupted. We lost everything. We lost the entire
How
episode.
did they manage to do that?
Technical difficulties. It's not my field. I can chalk it up to a few different things, but I'm just going to say that everybody is on ice right now.
Losing the episode basically caused him to lose all motivation for doing the show entirely, and he took a few weeks off from recording. And when he came back, he said that this had all happened and him and his crew were not on the best of terms because he was genuinely just so hurt that he could not get this file to work.
I had a breakdown big time. I thought I was never going to come back and do anything ever again because losing that crushed my confidence in myself. It crushed my confidence in my team, and it crushed my creativity. I just blocked completely. I couldn't bring myself to come back in here and film another episode knowing that we had fumbled that one so badly. And it was a serious, humbling.
This was a serious situation to Jeff, and he wasn't taking it lightly. Like he said, he almost wanted to quit and never do this again because of this episode not working out, and it really broke him.
I love these boys. I love my entire crew. I care for them deeply. But these types of mistakes at this level where we're bringing in guests, my first introduction to the UFC, it was my first UFC interview where I was a direct connect with the UFC. Now it embarrassed me and my reputation with the UFC. I feel embarrassed of myself that I let this man down. I wasted his time. I had no control over myself. I felt like a loser. I feel like a loser to this day. I still feel like a fucking loser because I just can't. I was set back to the start of this career, I felt like I was starting back out doing YouTube again.
He said he tried nearly everything to try and get this episode back, and every single time he tried something new to get this fixed, it wasn't working out. Nothing was happening that could possibly recover this episode for him. He said he didn't even know if the audience would think that this episode was their personal favorite, but this was his, and it was a big deal to him, and he knows that some people would say, oh, what's the big deal? It's just one episode. But he said this actually wasn't the first time that something like this has happened, which made it that much worse. And he really wanted to explain more about why this meant so much to him. And it was more than just a little podcast episode. This was everything to him.
The reason I'm here doing this is because I care deeply about this stuff. I'm passionate. I'm hard on myself. I'm tough on myself. I'm tough on these boys. I want to be great. I want to be at the top. I don't want to just half this shit and fall off in a year. I want to actually leave behind a legacy. When I do die or something, I want to have an episode with Bruce Buffer out that tells a compelling story that movies and documentaries will be made on. That's what I want, and I care so much. So when this happens, it's like I'm on a high and then I'm at the lowest I've ever been. So this put me at the lowest I've ever been in a while. And it took a lot to get back in here and record.
Jeff says when he finally got the courage to film again, that episode ended up being a waste as well because someone was able to access their computer from a screen sharing device and stop them from recording, and this caused him to crack. And he says that, yeah, he comes off as this tough guy and a lot of things have happened to him, but this really made him feel like a loser.
And it took a lot to get back in here and record. I get back in here yesterday to record another episode, and I was with Cody, and we both broke down a lot. We talked about trauma we dealt with as a child and things that may tie into what's going on with us now and how we deal with our problems. About an hour and a half episode just by myself like this. Halfway through, somebody accessed the computer through a screen sharing device, shut down the recording, and we lost another episode.
I will say in this week's episode of the podcast, Jeff wanted to clarify the situation with the screen sharing and didn't want to point fingers because people were assuming that it was either like Oscar or Kyle that had done something. And he wanted to make sure that people were not blaming them or sending them hate in any type of way for what happened with the whole screen sharing type of deal.
Do need to address something because I did say that, you know, that the podcast that I went to record after the Bruce episode got lost, that one got stopped. The recording got stopped again. I don't think anybody did that maliciously. I don't even know what actually happened because I can't see the computer. Nobody did anything maliciously. There were some errors. We're working things out, and that's pretty much it. You know, I don't want to send anybody hate anybody. There's no beef. There's no like bad blood. It's just the show must go on, and right now we're working things out. We're a family here.
Now, Jeff ended up apologizing to Bruce for the episode never being able to come out, and he said that he didn't have the courage to tell him about what happened because he was so embarrassed. And a lot of the fans in the comments have really been trying to cheer Jeff up because they can see how hurt he is by this whole thing. Just trying to tell him not to beat himself up too much about all of this. And fans of Jeff also really love his crew. Oscar and Kyle were notably missing from that episode when he first talked about all of this, and they're known as the Bathroom Boys, and people really do love them. And so a lot of the comment section was saying, I hope Oscar is back soon. I'm sure he feels awful about what happened, whether it was his fault or not. I really do hope this isn't the last we've seen of Oscar and Kyle. You boys have been through a lot together, and their characters provide much needed balance to this cast. I do sympathize with the setback. It can't have been easy, but I'm sure Oscar isn't in the best of places either at this moment. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive this mistake. Hope you make it to the island. Peace. I'm a huge UFC fan and Bruce Buffer fan, but I'm an even bigger Jeff of M fan. So just glad to see an episode. Bring back the crew and life goes on. Trust me, your team is worth more than 100 lost episodes. Jeff and Steven, things will get better. We love Oscar and Kyle. We support and care for all of you. Oscar ended up saying on Reddit that there was no beef or bad blood with him and Jeff, just miscommunication on both sides. And he said that he's still going to take some time to take a break and explore new projects, and wanted to clarify to people that he thinks Jeff is a good person and has been through a lot and didn't want any hate sent to him, and that this was something that was mutual between them. People were unsure if this was just a break or if he's gone from the show for good. But one thing is for sure is that the fans are sad to see all of this happen. Kyle ended up coming back this week, but not Oscar, and Jeff kind of talked about it on the podcast because he knew people would notice that they had a new guy filling in, but Mike was also a guest on this episode, and he didn't think that Jeff needed to address it at all.
Should I explain what's going on?
Yeah.
Like why this is the way it is? What's
What do you
going
mean?
on?
I thought you already handled that 15 times.
Might as
Yeah.
well.
I don't want to beat around the bush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just-
So obviously, bad technology, whatever, failed. There were some issues in the camp here, and the reason Kyle is back is because he wanted to be back. I'll just put it like that. You know?
I just feel like you're going to go down a path right now that you don't even have to. We already talked about this. You're hitting the
But
tennis
he
ball
hasn't
that you
talked
don't.
about it publicly.
I don't think he has to. Trust me, I'm the
Then we're
king
gonna
of not
beat him.
talking about shit publicly.
So
bro.
what
You
is
don't
he-
have
No,
to.
we're
do
not.
we-
We're
do
not
we
that
beat
type
around
of
the bush,
show, bro.
or do
We're not
we-
that type of show. You know, we're a family here, and our audience. We don't
All
lie
I'm
to
saying
them.
is
You know.
this, bro. I already, since I've been back, which is what I would have done if I was here at the time, as I've always done in every camp I've ever been a part of, have already solved this situation. It's in a very good spot. Everybody's happy. So what I'm trying to do is say, like, yo, today we don't
No,
talk
we're
about
all
it.
happy. I'm just saying, don't send this guy a bunch of hate like we replace somebody. Like it's look,
I
everything's.
didn't send him hate. I
everything's
said
good.
he's the new guy.
Fans disagreed with Mike chiming in and loved the fact that Jeff wanted to be transparent with his audience and wished that he had been able to dive into a little bit more detail about everything that's been going on. But clearly, Mike was just like, no need to bring up Oscar, no need to bring up names. We're not talking about it. You said what you said. It's best to not talk about it and ignore it. Jeff didn't want to lie to his audience, but Mike was like, that's not lying. So yeah. But at least it seems like they were able to work some things out and aren't on like crazy bad terms. It seems like they're just taking a break from each other right now, which fans are sad about, but it's not like Oscar has been fired. At least that's what it kind of is sounding like. But as of right now, that's what's going on with Jeff and his podcast. It's clearly been a lot the past couple of weeks, but it seems like each week they're kind of working through it a little bit. I guess we'll see if Oscar comes back, but who knows? But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.